Shedeur Sanders QB battle. Cam Newton calls for equality. In locker room as Joe Flacco, Dillon Gabriel get more chances. Things were never going to be easy for Shedeur Sanders when he entered Browns camp as a fifth-round pick. From day one, he faced an uphill battle in a crowded QB room, sitting behind three others on the depth chart. Training camp didn't do him many favors either, as Cleveland limited the Colorado alum to mostly 2 ND and third-team reps, with only the occasional look with the starters. Still, Sanders kept grinding, earning his way into preseason action. He made a solid impression in his first preseason outing, but struggled to replicate that in the finale. When the Browns finalized their 53-man roster, Sanders survived, but not in the role he hoped for. He slotted in as QB3, behind veteran Joe Flacco and fellow rookie Dillon Gabriel, who claimed the backup job and a clearer path to the starting spot should Flacco falter. The Browns, meanwhile, shipped Kenny Pickett to the Raiders and moved on from Tyler Huntley. Not everyone is buying how things played out. Former MVP Cam Newton voiced his frustration, saying the Browns' coaching staff, led by HC Kevin Stefanski, has an agenda against Shedeur. In Cam's view, Sanders hasn't been given the same opportunities as Gabriel and Flacco, and the team is deliberately putting him in situations where he's more likely to fail. That sentiment boiled over after the third preseason game. Sanders struggled in limited snaps, taking multiple sacks and losing yardage, while Gabriel put up cleaner numbers and avoided sacks altogether. On the surface, it looked like Gabriel simply outperformed him. But dig deeper, and there's context most are overlooking. The Browns cut 4 of the 5 offensive linemen who were protecting Sanders in that game. They stuck him behind a patchwork unit, while Gabriel benefited from first-team protection. The comparison wasn't apples to apples. It's clear that they don't really want him on the roster. It's getting to a point where it's becoming abundantly clear that there is a motive in Cleveland. Now, when I look at the stat line, some people would look at yards, some would look at TDs. What I'm seeing is the efficiency, but more or less the sack yards. 5-41, Joe Flacco was 1 sack for 9 yards, Gabriel was 0-0. There are a lot of determining factors there, and what we all want to see is equal rights. We all want to see equality amongst the locker room in Cleveland. That said, not all of Sanders' struggles can be pinned on Cleveland. He has carried over one bad habit from college: shaky pocket movement. Cam pointed out that Sanders doesn't step up into the pocket often enough, which shrinks his throwing window and leaves him exposed to sacks. The flaw was evident on his college tape, but in fairness, he rarely had the chance to play behind a sturdy offensive line that would let him develop those instincts. It feels like the Browns drafted Shedeur Sanders, kept him on the roster, but never really trusted him or wanted him to succeed. Compared to Dillon Gabriel, they clearly don't see a long-term future in him. That explains why Sanders never received meaningful first-team reps or the protection of the starting offensive line in preseason games, robbing him of a fair chance to showcase his talent. The situation became even more telling when Kevin Stefanski pulled him out mid-game in favor of Tyler Huntley, who was released immediately afterward. Moves like that suggest Sanders was never truly in the team's plans. He deserves better. Still, like many young quarterbacks before him, he'll have to bide his time, pay his dues, and fight his way up the ladder, something he never had to do at Colorado or Jackson State, where he thrived under the protection and support of his father. The Cleveland Browns quarterback room has become more than just a competition. It's a stage where politics, reputation, and legacy intertwine. With Joe Flacco's veteran presence, Dillon Gabriel's promising arm, and Shedeur Sanders' electric name recognition, head coach Kevin Stefanski finds himself managing not just a depth chart, but a delicate balance of personalities, egos, and expectations. And just when things couldn't get more complicated, a familiar NFL voice, Cam Newton, threw gasoline on the fire with a statement that echoed across the league. "All I want is equality in that locker room. Give the young blood the same shot you give the vets." Those words weren't just commentary. They were a challenge, a quarterback room of contrasts. On paper, the Browns' quarterback depth looks like a chessboard. Joe Flacco, the grizzled champion, carrying a Super Bowl MVP aura, but also a frame that creaks after every hit. Dillon Gabriel, the rookie with a smooth left-handed delivery, playing with the composure of someone who knows he's already earned Stefanski's trust. Shedeur Sanders, the lightning rod, the son of prime time, a young man who brings cameras, critics, and curiosity wherever he goes. Every throw in practice, every snap in preseason, every look from Stefanski feels magnified for Sanders. For Gabriel, mistakes are growing pains. For Flacco, they're veteran miscues. For Sanders, they're labeled proof that he's not ready. And that's where Newton's words hit hardest. Cam Newton's message. Newton has never been shy about his voice, even after the league quietly pushed him into retirement. He knows what it feels like to be judged on intangibles, to be scrutinized not for talent, but for personality, image, and perception. His plea for equality wasn't random. It was almost paternal, like a quarterback elder reaching out to a younger brother. Shedeur doesn't need handouts, Newton said during a podcast appearance. What he needs is fairness. If you're going to let Flacco throw a pick and stay on the field, then you gotta let Shedeur throw one and stay on the field too. That's how you build confidence. Otherwise, you're just setting him up to fail. Those words cut to the heart of the matter. Sanders hasn't been denied opportunity. He's been given different opportunity. Controlled reps. Situations designed to test him, as if he's in a lab experiment. Meanwhile, Flacco and Gabriel operate with the freedom of players Stefanski already trusts. Shedeur's quiet grind. Sanders hasn't publicly responded to Newton's comments, but his demeanor tells a story of its own. Reporters who watch practice note how often he stays late, how often he studies with the receivers long after the veterans have left. He throws until his arm aches. He runs scout team drills with a focus usually reserved for Sundays in January. There's a maturity in his approach, likely inherited from his father, that refuses to be drowned out by the noise. While social media debates whether he's the future or overhyped, Shedeur leans on a mantra Deion Sanders drilled into him. You don't have to prove them wrong, you just have to prove yourself right. Locker room dynamics. Inside the locker room, equality is harder to measure. Flacco commands respect simply by existing. His resume carries weight. Gabriel, young and approachable, bonds with players easily. Sanders, though charismatic, sometimes feels like an outsider, not because of arrogance, but because of the spotlight that follows him. Teammates whisper that every Sanders mistake trends online in ways Gabriel's never would.